All right, welcome to the Lacrosse Culture YouTube page. Might also go out on Back of the Bird. We're gonna have to see here with Todd Tobias, a man who goes by a few different slogans online, but I know him as the most knowledgeable lacrosse card aficionado in the world. Welcome to the YouTube.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, first of all, Todd writes a weekly column, or at least has written several columns for Lacrosse Culture Daily. So go check those out on the site. We'll make sure those are in the notes. Really extensive history of lacrosse cards, and it's kind of been cool because you've kind of taken readers throughout the summer and last year and into the fall through kind of a history of lacrosse cards, and now we're talking about some kind of breaking news. So. Uh, you are involved with a new project from TFL Sports. It is a World Lacrosse Box Championship trading card set. And yeah, it's really cool. It seems like they're really well done, and just kind of want to talk to you a little bit more about it. So, how did you get involved in this project, and how did it kind of come to fruition?
So, I was approached earlier this summer, I guess, late summer, August kind of thing, by a couple of guys who are, were putting together this group that wanted to do some lacrosse stuff. And one of the things that they wanted to start looking into was lacrosse trading cards. And they were familiar with my work, with my collection to some degree. And they asked if I wanted to get involved. I said, absolutely, sounded great. And so they were able to get, put together licensing agreements with three groups from the World Box Championships. That was, the first project that we wanted to work on. And so it was obviously Canada, the Haudenosaunee, and U.S. teams, men and women for all three. And so we went about, it was honestly, it was kind of a time crunch. We got to this project a little bit late, so we had to scramble to get things done. But we were able to put together three different card sets, I guess. We'll call all three together a release, but three different sets, one for each national governing body. And what they are is base sets, men and women, 23 player base sets, plus a handful of parallels and some really nice autographed stuff. Um, and I'm probably a bit biased, but I think they're some of the most attractive lacrosse cards ever produced. I think they really look nice, and collectors should be pretty interested, I think.
Curious about the licensing specifically with the governing bodies. Was that difficult? Did that get done pretty quickly? And what was that kind of process like?
I did not. I wasn't as much involved in that part. My end
Okay.
was primarily the cards. I would say that it was coming to an agreement on wanting to do this was pretty quick turnaround for all three.
Nice.
Things dragged out a little bit in terms of minor details, but all three were pretty excited from the get go about the idea of doing cards.
And then, so moving on to the design process, like for people who are kind of maybe unaware of how the whole process works, like where do you start? How does that whole kind of process go? And for you as a lifelong collector, what was it like being on the other side of it?
It was interesting. I've been involved with cards since, well, essentially my entire life, and certainly my entire professional life as well, either writing or researching or on occasionally selling, certainly buying. So it was fun to be on the production side. It was eye opening. There were things to think about that I had not considered before. Um, but what it was we went. I mean, I know some people in the card community, some companies that produce cards, and I went to them and spoke with them and said, "Look, this is what we want to do. We want to put together these three sets under our TFL brand. Can you help us do that?" And so these are companies that have worked, like I said, in cards, put out sets in different sports and different subjects and things like that in the past. And so it was a back and forth process, going over designs and all kinds of different suggestions and thoughts. And I'm not so much a designer per se. I know what I personally like, but I gave them a little bit of input. They came back with ideas. I showed it around, and we finally, settled on 4 different designs that we're employing across both base cards and autograph cards. But there's the base card. There's a tie-dye parallel. There's a silver parallel, which is only 10 of each copy were produced, and then the gold one of one copy, which only one of those are produced, obviously. So some fun stuff. I think there's going to be some great value to collectors in these cards, and certainly a heck of a lot of fantastic names as well.
So how many players are there for those gold cards, the one of ones?
So every player on the base roster gets a base one of one card as well. So there's 23 of those.
Okay.
But we are also going to have autograph one of ones, and cool. We have a more limited number of players that are in the autograph sets. So okay. Some players will have 2 one of ones, which is the base and the autograph. Others will have just the base.
Okay, and then just kind of cover some logistics for people who are interested. I see that they're being sold, I think, through Inside Lacrosse. Is that the only place you get them, and then how? I think they're being sold as a box. Not I think they are being sold as a box. So what does that kind of get you as a collector and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so Inside Lacrosse is our main distribution point. Each of the national governing bodies also got a quantity of sets as well to determine what they can do with what they want, whether they sell them or use them as gifts or what have you. But Inside Lacrosse is the main point of purchase, and each package is set up in exactly the same manner. We wanted equality throughout these cards, not only between men and women, but between national governing bodies as well. So each package, regardless of which of the 3 you purchase, will have 2 base sets: a 23 card men's base set, a 23 card women's base set. Then you'll get 2 men's parallel cards, 2 women's parallel cards, 3 men's autograph cards, and 3 women's autograph cards. So 56 cards total per package, broken down in exactly that format, regardless of which of the 3 sets you get.
Awesome. So you buy the 3 sets. That means Canada, USA, Haudenosaunee, right? So you
correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Yeah. We'll include the link for everything in the notes. Really cool. Really cool initiative. And kind of segues into another question. You've written a lot about the history of lacrosse cards. It's not necessarily a linear history. There's lots of ups and downs. Right. And then, this year we've seen 2 separate PLL releases. Now these ones, I think the NLL is working on a product as well. So, what do you kind of make of the, maybe not sudden, because it has been growing in bits and spurts over the history, but what do you kind of make of where the lacrosse card genre is at right now?
I think it's great. I mean, it's growing. It's showing progress. I probably started collecting lacrosse about 10 years ago. At that time, it was really, really difficult for me to find anybody else that collected lacrosse, anybody to trade with or anything like that. These days, it's much easier. Okay. I won't say that, lacrosse cards are still very, very, we'll say, I guess, insignificant in terms of the hobby as a whole. I mean, they've got a long, long way to go to catch up to a baseball, football, basketball, anything like that. But lacrosse has made great strides in the last few years. A lot of that obviously has to do with the PLL stuff. Athletes Unlimited has had a couple of really nice releases as well. I'm excited to see happens with the new NLL product. I think our stuff is going to be great. So really, it's just a matter of spreading the word. So many people still don't really recognize that lacrosse cards are a thing.
Yeah.
And I've always said that education is the key to all of this, and which is one of the reasons that I wrote all the articles that I do, and am as vocal as I am on Twitter and places like that. I want people to learn about this and understand what there is available, and that these can be collected with the same mindsets as any other sport. You can look at terms of collecting history. You can look in terms of prospecting on rookies. You can collect complete sets. You can do whatever you want, and it's a great hobby genre that is really just starting to hit its stride.
Awesome. Well, that I got the bug this year from you. I got my PLL cards right here.
Excellent.
I got my Tim Hortons hockey cards beside me as
All
well.
right.
So I got the card bug. We got a bunch more PLL cards at home. 2 more fresh packs. We got 2 more packs that we haven't ripped yet. So looking forward to that. But maybe talk to us about some of the newer stuff in your collection, some of the kind of pieces you've been collecting recently.
Okay. My collection is kind of all over the place. I enjoy the current players that I get to watch, and I enjoy watching with my kids and friends and things like that. I also love the really vintage stuff. I'm learning player names and things like that. It's much harder to learn about lacrosse players from the early 1900s than it is, let's say, baseball players.
Sure.
Baseball history is far better documented, but it's fun stuff to pick up and learn about. I've got a little bit of stuff here. So I'm a big Danny Logan guy.
Okay.
One of our San Diego Seals on Team USA Box and Field, obviously, plays for the Atlas. This is from the 2022, there's a glare there, from the 2022 Topps PLL set. That's his autographed 1/1 card.
Nice.
I love the old New York Lizards team issued sets. They can be pretty tough to find, and I was able to trade recently for a 2017 set.
Wow.
Small set, but
That's awesome.
Certainly got a lot of star power with Grenlian, Pennell, Ravel, Joe Walters. I also like, when I say the vintage stuff, you kind of have to collect what you can find. There isn't always necessarily specific trading cards. You have to kind of look outside the realm a little bit.
Yeah.
And so there are actually a lot of lacrosse postcards, and that's something that I find fascinating. I think it's really, really cool. I picked this up. This is a postcard of the 1908 Canadian Olympic team.
Wow. Yeah, for people who don't realize, lacrosse is not. It's making its re-entry to the Olympics in 28.
Correct.
Right? Its debut. Yeah.
Yeah. So an unused postcard, but one that is fascinating to me. I recognize a few of the names on here as guys that played for the Salmon Bellies at around the same time, and guys that I have on other items. So that's pretty neat. I also picked up this cabinet card. Shows the 1885-86 Montreal Athletic Association. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get that in the camera. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
The Montreal Athletic Association team that were deemed the world champions at that time. And came from a very, very old collection. There's a little bit of handwriting on the back, denoting what exactly it was. But
very cool.
Yeah, fun stuff. So oddball kinds of things, a little bit of contemporary, a little bit of vintage. Like I said, I'm all over the place. I can appreciate lacrosse stuff of any era.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I mentioned you've been doing a lot of great work for Lacrosse Culture Daily. I'll make sure that's linked in the show notes. But tell the people where they can find. Most of your collection is documented. It's on your website. Tell people kind of where they can find you.
Sure. So I put together a lacrosse card website with Jim Coughlin, and it's at Lax Card Archive, www.laxcardarchive.com. And that is basically an attempt to show what all has been produced over the years. Because, if people collect other sports, they know that they can go to different websites or get different books that show exactly what has been produced over the years for baseball, football, basketball, what have you.
Sure.
There is no such thing for lacrosse. So the website that we put together is the closest thing that lacrosse has to a essentially an encyclopedia of lacrosse cards.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool. I spent a lot of time on there already. It's making me realize I got to get some binders here and get my own stuff stored away. But you're the authority on this stuff, Todd. I appreciate you coming on today and teaching me and teaching the people as you always do. So be well,
Absolutely.
and thanks again for coming on.
You bet. Thank you.